a husband, father, and military veteran from Arkansas may go to prison for killing his daughter's stalker. 36-year-old Aaron Spencer and his wife, Heather, went to check on the teen in the middle of the night and couldn't find her, so Aaron set out in his truck in search of the young woman. He crossed paths with a vehicle driven by 67-year-old Michael Fossler and noticed his daughter in the passenger seat. Aaron fatally shot Fossler during the confrontation that followed and was booked into custody on a preliminary first-degree murder charge. He's currently free on a $150,000 bond and could face up to a lifetime in prison if convicted as charged. At the time, Fossler was out on bond for allegedly stalking the Spencer's daughter, and the family had an order of protection against him. In a crowdfunding post raising money for legal fees, Heather described Fossler as the boyfriend of a family friend who, in her words, appeared in a place where our child should have been safe and got access to her phone number. Number 14. Terrell Eugene Giddens. A recent road rage dispute in North Carolina ended with one man dead and another in jail on suspicion of murder. According to law enforcement, 40-year-old father of 3, Jeffrey Michael Guida, was fatally shot by 75-year-old Terrell Eugene Giddens in Catawba, roughly an hour's drive outside Charlotte, after both men pulled over at an intersection to settle a traffic-related disagreement. During the confrontation that ensued, Giddens reportedly pulled a rifle and opened fire on Guida. He's also accused of firing several shots at Guida's vehicle, which was occupied by the victim's 3 children. By the time deputies arrived, Guida was dead and the shooter had fled the scene. Giddens was arrested at his home on suspicion of murder and 3 counts of attempted murder. He remains behind bars without bail at the Catawba County Jail as he awaits his next court date. Number 13. Dawn Sturges. A British woman named Dawn Sturges collapsed after spraying what she thought was perfume from a discarded fragrance bottle onto her wrist. She was unaware that the bottle contained a highly toxic Soviet-developed nerve agent called Novichok. Sturges died several days after being exposed to the highly toxic substance, while her partner, who was also exposed, narrowly survived. 6 years after Sturges' death, a public inquiry revealed that the perfume bottle contained enough poison to kill thousands of people. While investigators don't seem to believe that Sturges was the intended target, the incident came just months after a former Russian intelligence officer turned double agent, Sergei Skripal, survived a similar poisoning on British soil. Russian President Vladimir Putin denied the Russian government's alleged involvement in what appeared to British authorities to be deliberate attempts on Skripal's life. Number 12. Raimundo Alves Gomez. 36-year-old Brazilian police officer Ghislaine Silva de Deus was just a child when her father was murdered in the northern city of Roraima in 1999. Givalda Jose Vicente de Deus was shot dead by his longtime friend Raimundo Alves Gomez at point-blank range over a $25 debt while playing pool. Gomez, who is now 60 years old, went on the run shortly after the crime, and he was still living on the lam when he was convicted of murder in absentia in 2013. Determined to see her father's killer brought to justice, Silva pursued a career in law enforcement and made it her personal goal to locate Gomez, landing herself a position on a homicide squad responsible for investigating the case. The fugitive was finally captured recently thanks to the efforts of Silva and her colleagues. In footage of Gomez's arrest, Silva could be seen looking directly at him and saying, "It's because of me that you are here, and you are now going to pay." He is facing a 12-year prison sentence. Number 11. Telina May Fields. A 32-year-old aspiring actress named Telina May Fields is now looking at a potential lifetime behind bars as she stands accused of killing and dismembering her mother, Trudy Fields. Police were called to the victim's home in Mount Olivet, Kentucky, by a concerned maintenance worker. Responding officers reportedly found body parts inside a blood-soaked mattress in the backyard, along with bloody drag marks leading from the back door. The maintenance worker told police that he and Trudy had been in a confrontation with Telina the day before, and that Telina had begun casting spells and acting aggressive towards them. An hours-long standoff ensued as Telina refused to exit the residence or let police inside. Law enforcement finally made entry late at night after obtaining a warrant and reportedly found a pot containing severed body parts and was warm to the touch in the kitchen oven. Telina, who went by the stage name Naomi Navarre, while trying to make it big in Hollywood, was booked into the Bourbon County Detention Center on suspicion of murder, abuse of a corpse, tampering with physical evidence, animal torture, and obstructing governmental operations. Bond is set at $1.5 million. Number 10. Giovani Aldama Garcia. As Hurricane Milton approached from the Gulf of Mexico and battered parts of Florida, a dog owner left his bull terrier tied to a fence along Interstate 75 in Hillsborough County. The canine, named Jumbo, survived after being found in water up to his shoulders and was given a clean bill of health after seeing a veterinarian. He has since been placed with a foster family in Tallahassee, who renamed him Trooper due to how much he's been through and to honor those who saved him. Jumbo's owner, 23-year-old Giovani Aldama Garcia, reportedly admitted to abandoning him while en route to the neighboring state of Georgia because he couldn't find anyone to pick the dog up. Garcia is now facing a felony charge of third-degree animal cruelty. If convicted as charged, he could face up to 5 years in prison, which isn't long enough according to Hillsborough County State Attorney Susie Lopez, who admonished the defendant for his actions and urged lawmakers to impose stricter animal cruelty laws. Number 9. Ronnie Jashua Siman Jantac. What was supposed to be a fun vacation along the Indonesian coast turned into a total nightmare for one group of friends when 20-year-old Ronnie Jashua Siman Jantac was swept out to sea by a massive wave. The young man was trying to capture a photo of the waves crashing along the rocky shore at Kidang Tumpang Beach in East Java when he was pulled into the water. Footage of the incident showed that Siman Jantac was literally there one moment and gone the next after the initially calm waters turned volatile. He could be seen holding his hands above his head while standing on a rock formation, while his friends stood further away from the water. It seemed apparent that he did not foresee what was about to happen as the giant wave struck him from behind, knocking him onto his hands and knees before he vanished from view. Witnesses initially laughed when they saw Siman Jantac fail, but they quickly stopped when they realized that he was gone. The search for his body is reportedly ongoing and will be called off if he isn't found soon. Number 8. Liam Payne. 31-year-old former One Direction singer Liam Payne tragically fell from the balcony of his third-floor hotel room in Argentina while in the throes of what appeared to be a mental health crisis. A manager at the Casa Sur Palermo Hotel in Buenos Aires called for emergency help shortly before the incident, telling a police dispatcher that Payne was out of control and destroying his room while under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Identifying himself as Esteban, the employee referenced the room's balcony and mentioned the fear among staff that Payne was putting his own life at risk. Just 3 minutes after help was dispatched to the scene, Payne fell to his death. Emergency responders had not yet arrived at the hotel. Payne was pronounced dead at the scene after it was determined that there was no chance of reviving him. According to the most recent available updates, it's unclear how Payne came to fall off the balcony. Witnesses said that Payne was behaving erratically in the hotel lobby prior to the incident and had to be carried up to his room after smashing his laptop. An inside source told Page 6 that the singer had been intermittently self-destructive for some time leading up to the tragedy, with periods of ruinous behavior. It's unclear what triggered his final crisis. Number 7. Emir Abadzik Lowe. 60-year-old famed British photojournalist Paul Lowe was reportedly stabbed to death by his own son during a visit to a scenic waterfall in California's San Gabriel Mountains. Police saw Lowe's 19-year-old son, Emir Abadzik Lowe, speeding away from the scene where the body was found. Emir crashed his car just a few miles away and was apprehended on suspicion of his father's murder. While his alleged motive remains unclear, he has a lengthy history of mental illness and was hospitalized with psychosis several times in the year leading up to the tragic incident. Lowe's wife, Amra Abadzik Lowe, told the New York Times that Emir had overstayed a several-day trip to the US by more than 2 months. Lowe had gone to California to try persuading his son to return to the UK, and they had just gotten out of their car to admire the views while driving around in the mountains when the stabbing occurred. Emir is currently awaiting his next court date from behind bars with bail set at $2 million. Number 6. Bondo Jasso. A 56-year-old horse groomer named Bondo Jasso is accused of slicing his boss's nose off with a machete in what appears to be an unprovoked attack on the victim. 74-year-old Amy Waters and her friend Joe Hawk. Palm Beach County deputies found Waters and Hawk suffering from severe injuries after she called 911 and reported what had happened. Jasso was arrested on 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder. He had been working at the stable for about a month leading up to the attack, but was often drunk on the job, according to Waters. There had been some verbal altercations between the two due to Jasso's alleged tendency to become aggressive when he had been drinking. On the night of the attack, Waters and Hawk went to Jasso's RV to talk to him about his failure to finish his end-of-shift duties. He immediately acted aggressive, and attempts to defuse the situation failed. Jasso remains behind bars at the Palm Beach County Detention Center as he awaits his next court date. Number 5. Derek Derman. A 36-year-old Alabama man who admitted to massacring 5 of his girlfriend's family members has been executed by lethal injection 8 years after his crimes. Derek Derman's campaign of violence began when he broke into a home where his girlfriend, Lanera Lester, had sought refuge from his abuse. He went on to kill Lester's brother, Joseph Turner, Joseph's wife, Shannon Randall, Shannon's brother, Robert Brown, Shannon's niece, Chelsea Reed, Chelsea's husband, Justin, and the Reeds' unborn baby. The victims were all shot and/or hacked to death. In recent years, Derman sought to drop his appeals and move forward with his execution. In letters to state officials and the judge overseeing his case, he took full responsibility for his actions and said he thought it was unfair to continue prolonging the justice that the victim's surviving family members so rightly deserve. As he lay on the execution table, Derman's last words were a plea of forgiveness to those he had hurt the most. He also told his family he loved them and was pronounced dead shortly thereafter. Number 4. Paul Park. 34-year-old IT worker and neuroscience PhD, Elisa Lockett, was walking along a popular trail in Nashville, Tennessee, when a stranger stepped out from between 2 nearby parked cars and began following her. Moments later, she could be heard screaming for help. By the time anyone found Lockett in an overgrown part of the Mill Creek Greenway, she was dead from a gunshot wound to the head, later identified by law enforcement as 29-year-old Paul Park. The accused killer was arrested less than 24 hours later. Authorities identified Park as the suspect based on the accounts of witnesses who reported seeing the culprit run into a BMW sedan with scratches on his arms and blood on his clothing. Footage from a nearby car owner's dash cam also helped lead investigators to Park, who remains in the custody of the Davidson County Sheriff's Office. Number 3. Woman survives falling water tank. A woman in the town of Dindoli in northwest India miraculously survived after a water tank nearly fell on top of her as she walked along a narrow street. She had just given a donation to a temple when the incident occurred and was crossing the street when the massive tank plunged to the ground seemingly out of nowhere. Footage of the near-death experience showed the woman eating an apple and strolling nonchalantly, making it clear that she had no idea what was about to happen. After the tank fell, the woman poked her head out of a hole in the top of the vessel, which had missed her body by mere inches. She appeared both conscious and physically unharmed as onlookers rushed over to help her and tried to figure out where the plastic tank came from. Because the woman was on her way home from making a donation, the internet has been abuzz with talk about how her luck is an example of good karma. Number 2. Ryan Wedding. A Canadian former Olympic snowboarder is accused of running a massive drug operation which trafficked dozens of tons of cocaine across the United States and killed at least 2 people. 43-year-old Ryan Wedding, who is thought to be hiding out in Mexico, is reportedly the kingpin of the syndicate. According to U.S. prosecutors, Wedding's drug ring killed 2 Canadian citizens in a case of mistaken identity as retribution for a stolen drug shipment. In the meantime, the group reportedly moved 60 tons of cocaine annually. During an investigation into the drug ring, the FBI seized weapons, ammunition, cocaine, and more than $3 million in cryptocurrency. 16 people have been charged in connection with the case, and 4 of the suspects remain at large, including Wedding. The FBI is offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to Wedding's capture and extradition. He's wanted on federal charges of running a criminal enterprise, murder, conspiring to distribute cocaine, and more. Number 1. Glen Keith and Robertson. High school senior Dashayla Ardoin and her 21-year-old boyfriend, DJ Glen Keith and Robertson, were found dead from gunshot wounds inside a car. They had been killed while en route to the young woman's homecoming dance in Mamou, Louisiana, on a Saturday evening. Based on the findings at the scene, police believe Robertson was responsible for both deaths, but the motive behind the killings remains unclear. No one else was injured, and there were no other passengers in the car at the time of the incident.